In the dawn of Egyptian memory, before the phrase Book of the Dead existed, priests carved sacred words into the walls of tombs and pyramids, words to guide the departed through the silence beyond. These were the pyramid texts, the breath-stolen spells of the earliest kings, echoing in the cool corridors of stone, whispering promise of resurrection to rulers entwined in eternal slumber. Centuries turned like the pages of a scroll, and those spells reserved for pharaohs flowed from stone into ink. They found a new vessel, the papyrus roll, arc of light, floating on the Nile. Papyrus stalks were harvested, pounded, dried, and inked, transformed into the world's first guidebook for every soul who dared the journey beyond. Among these manuscripts, none shines brighter than the Papyrus of Ani, its reed-black script dancing across soft yellow fields. Ani, a scribe and honored one, commissioned his own Book of the Dead, etching spells of protection and keys to every threshold laid before the soul. But Ani's papyrus was not alone. Across Thebes and Saqqara, in the tombs of nobles and priests, copies multiplied, each tailored in chapters and vignettes, each a bespoke map for a unique passage through Duat. The Book of the Dead was no single volume, no fixed canon. It was a living archive, a treasury of incantations drawn from pyramid texts, risen through coffin texts, and woven into papyrus form for every seeker who faced the dark. What began as prophecy became personal guide. What once sheltered pharaohs became a torch for every heart, braving the hall of judgments, the river of crocodiles, the gates of serpents, and the final balance of the heart. This papyrus did more than record words. It carried a current of power, a charged stream of intention, an electric promise that the soul, armed with knowledge, could move beyond fear, beyond loss, beyond death itself. And so, in those earthen tombs, priests inked their wisdom on reed paper, passing from stone to scroll to soul, crafting the first Book of the Dead, the timeless guide for every traveler between worlds. Before the Hall of Two Truths stands a gate of words, not stone, but syllables 42 in number each, a declaration of the soul's innocence, each a key to pass the judgment of Osiris. These are not confessions of virtue, but truths unspoken. I have not done wrong. I have not stolen. I have not told lies. They echo like ripples across still water, each confession washing the heart clean. In the silent dark of Duat, where shadows twist and memories tremble, these declarations become light lanterns, guiding the soul through unfamiliar corridors. Written upon papyrus, recited before the weighing of the heart, they form a litany of being. Each negative confession dispels a burden, the weight of anger, of greed, of deceit. As the heart rests upon the scales beside Ma'at's feather, these words align soul and cosmos, bringing balance to the universal order. Egyptian priests taught the aspirant to speak these declarations aloud, to feel their resonance in bone and breath. The ritual was precise. Stand before the statue of Osiris, body echoing the shape of a mummy, hands crossed. Linen crispin, speak each statement like a vow of existence itself. It was not mere ethics, it was ontology. To declare I have not blasphemed is to claim one's voice as sacred. To affirm I have not caused pain is to root compassion in the heart's own soil. Through each declaration, the traveler becomes the very measure of truth, stepping into the hall unshaken by guilt. Yet these keys were more than moral absolution. They mapped the soul's landscape, its shadowed corners, its hidden chambers. By naming each transgression uncommitted, the seeker illuminated paths once dark, found thresholds once fearful, and carried the light of awareness into realms where sin and virtue lose their grip. In Ani's papyrus, vignettes accompany each declaration: the caretaker feeding the Nile, the artisan fashioning sacred vessels, the traveler honoring the gods at every turn. Each image reinforces the spoken word, weaving a tapestry of life lived in harmony with divine law. When the 42nd declaration is uttered, "I have not acted with arrogance," the final lock clicks open. The scales find perfect balance, and the feather of Ma'at hovers level with the heart. Osiris, robed in emerald light, welcomes the soul into his presence. No longer weighed by the burdens of life, the soul stands Purian Ak, a luminous spirit dawned anew. Thus, the 42 declarations are not mere incantations, but kisich, crafted to unlock a gate, each spoken to transform the trembling heart into a vessel of truth. In their echo, the Book of the Dead reveals its deepest secret, that to journey beyond, one must first become the embodiment of cosmic balance, where every word is a step, every truth a gate, every heart a temple of light. Beyond the judgment hall, beyond the weighing of the heart, lies a corridor of doors. Not doors of wood or bronze, but gates of power, each a threshold to a deeper mystery. This is Duat, the realm between worlds, a labyrinth of shadow and flickering light, where the soul's true journey unfolds. Imagine a path lined with 42 gates, each guarded by a creature born of starlight and dream. A serpent coiled upon wings, its eyes like polished obsidian. It hisses truths in languages no living tongue can name. A crocodile with scales of amber, its maw a yawning cavern. It reminds the traveler of death's patient jaws. A lioness crowned with papyrus, her roar a ripple through stone. She demands courage beyond fear. At each gate, the soul must speak a secret name, a vibration etched in the heart since first breath. For these gates are not broken by force. They yield only to resonance, the echo of one's own essence, matching the lock's hidden song. Priests inked these portals in Ani's papyrus, vignettes of each guardian, symbols of each trial. They taught the reciter to feel the pulse of the gate in the hollow of the throat, to align breath with the door's own rhythm. Step by step, the journey unfolds. The gate of silver flame, where the air shimmers with memory's heat. The gate of whispering sand, where silence speaks of dust and time. The gate of shattered mirrors, where reflections fracture into 1,000 selves. At the gate of endless night, the soul confronts its fear, the terror of oblivion, the vertigo of unbeing. And at the gate of the hidden Sunday, it tastes hope, the promise of dawn beyond every darkness. These gates are not linear. They coil, they spiral, they rise and fall like breath itself. Some souls circle back, lost in loops of regret. Others find shortcuts, guided by sparks of gnosis, by fleeting glimpses of the inner flame. But no one passes through without transformation. Each gate strips a veil, the veil of memory, the veil of illusion, the veil of separation. And in that stripping, the soul learns to move beyond desire, beyond fear, beyond the stories it once told itself. When the final gate yawns open, the world dissolves into a single point of light, the heart of Osiris's throne room, where all gates converge in the stillness of the eternal now. Here, no guard remains, no trial stands, no threshold looms. Only the soul, naked and whole, ready to step into the uncharted vastness of being, beyond gates, beyond fear, beyond the dying of worlds. There is a moment in the journey when the soul hangs between worlds, neither bound by flesh nor wholly freed by death. It is here that the spells of transformation unfurl like secret petals in the darkness. spoken not to change the world, but to change the traveler into something more. An Ak, a spirit of light, shining beyond the grave. These are not incantations of power, but of rebirth, formulas drawn from the well of stars, woven into words that carry the breath of dawn. Listen to the priest's voice echo through the tomb's corridor, a melody of rattling beads, a whisper among the reed walls. Rise, O Kerheb, he calls the once dead scribe, become the radiance that dances on the horizon. Each spell is a key, a careful turning in the lock of being. One opens the mouth, allowing the breath of life to return, so the spirit may speak the names of gods and all the truths it has learned. Another seals the bones in golden bands of promise, so they may not scatter in the winds of unknowing. A third calls upon the waters of noon, that the spirit may sail in Ra's solar bark, be guiding star and navigator of its own destiny. With each utterance, the fabric of identity shifts. Ka and Ba entwine, dance in luminous thread, and from their union, the Ak is born. In Ani's papyrus, we see the scribe's form draped in feathers of light, walking across fields of reeds, greeting the goddesses who grant him essence reborn. The Ak is not merely alive, it is awake, piercing the veil of time, tethered to both earth and sky, moving as wind through reeds, as song through temple walls. These spells remind us that death is not an ending, but a threshold, and each word is a stepping stone across the waters of change. When the magic completes its work, when the last syllable fades in the stillness, the soul stands transformed, a being of radiance, a spark of Osiris's own flame, ready to wander eternally in fields of light. In that moment, the Book of the Dead becomes not a text of fear, but a mirror of hope, reflecting our own capacity to be reborn beyond every end. There is a hall silent as stone, lit only by the glow of judgment. Here, the traveler kneels before a scale older than memory, its beams poised between feather and organ. This is the Hall of Two Truths, where the heart is weighed against Ma'at's feather, the goddess of balance, her plume pure as desert wind. No judge stands here with gavel or decree. Only Anubis, the jackal-headed guide, crouches beside the scales, his gaze both gentle and exacting. He tends the balance with solemn reverence, for here lies the soul's axis, the narrow line between light and shadow, the heartseat of emotion, vessel of desire, mirror of every deed rests upon gold-plated scales. Opposite Maat's feather drifts, light as truth itself. In Ani's papyrus, vignettes surround this moment. The scribe offering bread and beer, the goddess Torre at his side, the four sons of Horus standing guard, each spirit ready to protect the fragile spark of being. Priests chanted the sacred words, the spells of preservation. To you, O Ma'at, I present my heart, that it may not bear witness against me in the presence of the divine. Each word a trembling bridge between guilt and grace, each breath a plea for purity. If the scales tip, the heart heavy with regret, the wickedness unspoken, the unatoned harm, then Amit, devourer of souls, leans forward with crocodile jaws and lion's claws, ready to consume all traces of that spirit. But if balance holds, if the heart and feather rest in perfect stillness, then Osiris rises from his throne of papyrus and gold. Clad in emerald light, he extends the Ankh, the key of life, and welcomes the soul into the embrace of eternity. This test is not mere ceremony. It is the crucible of being. It asks, what have you done? Not to punish, but to reveal. For the heart records every moment, each kindness, each cruelty, each secret vow, each hidden shame. It is the ledger of the soul, And here, in the silent hall, the truth is made manifest. When the spell is cast, I have not spoken evil, I have not stolen the bread of the poor. The heart is freed from its burdens, light as Ma'at's own plume. The traveler stands redeemed, no longer bound by the shadows of self, no longer weighed by regret. They become an Akh, an immortal radiance, a being reborn in truth. And so the Book of the Dead whispers its greatest secret, that beyond death's final breath, beyond every gate and trial, lies the heart's own reckoning, the ultimate ceremony where balance and truth become one and the same. In the velvet expanse of the netherworld, a golden vessel glimmers, the solar bark of Ra, ship of dawn and dusk, bearer of light between realms. The Book of the Dead holds the spells to board this celestial boat, to join the sun god on his nightly voyage through Duat's deep waters, and to rise with him on the morrow's tide. Imagine the bark's prow carved like a falcon's beak, wings of sacred papyrus unfurled on either side, its deck laid in gold leaf, its rails encrusted with lapis and carnelian, reflecting stars like scattered seeds of fire. Priests painted its image on tomb walls, the god's eye blazing at the stern, his voice calling the deceased by name, drawing them into the current of solar regeneration. Spell 15. In the bark of Reshu, I have placed my trust. With the wind of Sekhem, I navigate the hidden stream. I am with Ra, and the darkness flees before us. These words are keys, each syllable a paddle stroke cutting through the obsidian flood, each breath an oar pulling toward the horizon of becoming. Along the banks drift spirits ancient, silent, their hands raised in salutations to the living light. They guide the bark past obstacles, rocky reefs of fear, rapids of doubt, shoals of forgotten names. In the darkest hour, they confront Apep, the serpent of chaos coiled thick around the world's spine. Its fangs drip venom of oblivion, its hiss the very echo of uncreation. But Ra, embodiment of will, clutches the ank's hilt, thunders his name, and the serpent recoils, shattering into motes of shadow scattered by the bark's flame. With the dawn near, the bark emerges upon the eastern shore, a silent rise into gold-tipped waves. The sun god stretches his wings, and the world is born again. To ride the solar bark is to transcend the tomb, to transform dark into light, to weave night into day, to claim the power of rebirth with every breath. These spells teach us life is a cycle of crossing, a passage on the river of stars, and the bark awaits any soul ready to trust in its own dawn. Not all scrolls survive the slow burn of centuries. Not all words endured the flood of sands. Yet within the fragments lie echoes of verses never meant for idle eyes, the secret chapters of the Book of the Dead, whispered only in hidden groves and silent sanctuaries. In tombs tucked beneath desert dunes, archaeologists found scraps of papyrus inscribed with glyphs older than the pharaohs of the New Kingdom, spells that dissolve time, invocations that blur the line between this world and the next. One fragment begins, "O child of earth, beyond the four pillars, beyond the halls of silence, seek the name of the nameless God, and the gates will open within your palm." Another, written in rushed strokes, promises the power to walk unseen beneath the feathered wings of Horus himself, to move as shadow through the bark's hidden passages, to hear the dead speak in the tongue of stars. These lost spells were never copied into Ani's papyrus, nor sung in grand temples. They circulated in secret orders, priestesses of Philae, hermits of the Siwa oasis, scribes who traded in forbidden knowledge beneath the gaze of Amun-Ra. The Nag Hammadi codices, discovered beyond the desert's edge, carry traces of Gnostic interpretations verses that merge the Egyptian path with the path of Sophia's light. Here, the soul learns not only to cross Duat's gates, but to carry the inner flame of divine wisdom past the jaws of Ammit and into the void before creation. In Qumran scroll caves, scholars piece together lines that speak of a fifth hall, a hidden chamber where no scale, no feather can bind the heart. Here, the seeker grasps the final secret, that the purest path beyond death is to shatter every bond to become the very breath of Ma'at, free in both form and formlessness. These secret chapters remind us that the Book of the Dead is not static, but evolving a living river of rites and revelations, shifting with each soul's call across the boundary of worlds. And today, as modern seekers translate pixel and dust, as they chant in candlelit rooms and under full moons, the hidden verses return soft as moth wings on papyrus, bright as embers in the desert night. They beckon to those ready to go beyond the known spells, to dip beneath the currents that flow behind every gate, to touch the hidden heart of Duat, and emerge bearing the lost keys to their own radiant becoming. The Book of the Dead is not confined to dusty tombs. Its papyrus breathes still in whispered chants, in candlelit circles, in the silent chambers of the heart. Modern seekers unfurl its ancient spells not for fear of death, but for mastery of living. They gather in groves beneath palm fronds, in vaulted basements lined with black velvet voices rising and falling like the Nile's ceaseless song. They chant the negative confessions, not to plead innocence, but to clear the clutter of regret from the mind's own papyrus. They trace the 42 gates on labyrinthine tapestries, walking folded silks in meditative procession, each step a key, each breath a spell. In some temples, the heart-weighing ritual becomes a practice of self-inquiry. Participants lie upon scales of perception, mindful of every heartbeat, aware of every thought that stirs the balance. They call Ma'at's name to still the inner critic, to featherlight the burdens of ego. Others sail the solar bark in vision quests draped in white linen, adorned with amulets of carnelian and lapis, eyes closed against the desert glare. Guided by drums, they ride a river of sound into dreaming corridors, meeting serpents of insight, embracing the serpent's gift as they pass each threshold of inner Duat. Ritual magicians isolate the hidden chapters, the fragments of lost verses, and recite them under new moons, their voices trembling with the electricity of rediscovery. They seek the fifth hall not in stone, but in the fissures of consciousness, where the final seal is broken and the soul tastes freedom. Yoga adepts trace hieroglyphs on sand, their bodies folding into asanas that mirror the positions of hieroglyphic figures. Each pose an enactment of the soul's journey. Ba, Ka, Ach, the trinity of self embodied in breath and bone. Sound healers dip their instruments in tonality singing bowls, ancient flutes, chanting voices tuning frequency to the vibration of papyrus scrolls. They awaken the glyphs not with sight, but with resonance, transforming sound waves into pathways through the underworld of mind. And quietly, in solitary moments, any heart may open its inner Book of the Dead in prayer, in journaling, in mindful presence. Every breath becomes a stroke of ink, every action a line of hieroglyph writing, rewriting one's own passage through life and beyond. This living book demands participation, not passive reading. It asks us to recite its truths until they echo in flesh and spirit, to walk its gates until we embody their lessons, to weigh our hearts until we move through the priesthood's world with feather-light compassion. In this way, the Book of the Dead is reborn each day, not as a relic of fear, but as a guide for becoming our luminous Akh in a world alive with both joy and shadow. The ancient spells were never dead. They were seeds planted in reed and ink, waiting for the day when we would live their promise not beyond death, but here, now, in every conscious heartbeat. Close your eyes and feel the soft rustle of papyrus under your fingertips. But this scroll is not in tombs, not in museums, not bound by reed and ink. It flows within you, your personal papyrus. Here, the Book of the Dead becomes your own story. Each spell, each gate, each declaration is written in the texture of your breath, inscribed in the rhythm of your heartbeat. Feel the four rivers of consciousness flow anew: Pishon's spark of insight, Gihon's deep well of intuition, Tigris's current of will, Euphrates' stream of compassion. They carve channels in your inner landscape, guiding you toward hidden springs of knowing. Speak your 42 declarations not to an otherworldly judge, but to your own heart. I have not betrayed my truth. I have not denied my longing. I have honored my shadow. With each vow, you purify the temple of your being, clearing space for the radiant Akh to shine within your chest. Walk the gates of Duat in meditation. See serpents coil into roses. Hear crocodiles recede into silence. Feel the lioness's roar quiet to a whisper of courage. In this inner labyrinth, each threshold is both trial and blessing. Each gate both barrier and doorway. Weigh your heart against Ma'at's invisible feather. Feel its delicate lightness. Test the balance of your desires, your fears, your joy. Here, in the silent court of self, you become both defendant and advocate, both scale and feather, both witness and witnessed. Board the solar bark of your own making. Let dawn rise in your veins. Let dusk rest in your bones. Sail past Apep's coils of doubt, emerging each morning reborn on the horizon of possibility. Whisper the secret verses. You alone hold words born in midnight's hush. Incantations drawn from your personal well of wonder. These lost spells are keys to your own fifth hall, the chamber where form dissolves into pure presence. Live the book today in every choice, every breath, every beat of your heart. Make each moment a hieroglyph etched in intention. Speak each action as a spell, weaving life and death into a single tapestry of becoming. Your personal papyrus is ever unfurling a map of inner landscapes, a guide through realms of self and beyond. No priest confers its authority, no god inscribes its pages. You are both scribe and seeker, author and initiate, writing your own journey through the mysteries of existence. And when your final breath traces its last line upon that inner scroll, may you stand unblinking before the silent witness, your own eye above all, reading the book you have become, and welcoming you into the endless pages of all that lies beyond.